Hey everybody, meteorologist Will Haney here. It is Wednesday night. I'm so thrown off by what day of the week it is already, as I have been known to do. It is a very warm, very muggy Wednesday night out there. Hopefully everyone had a great day today. Today kind of being the first of several days that are going to definitely feel more noticeably hot and more humid. And if you thought today was humid, just wait till tomorrow because it's going to be even worse as far as that humidity is concerned. I'm going to give this a share over to my page, and I also realized I need to close the door behind me just so no one's thrown off and walks by or anything like that. So give me just a few moments and we'll get this party started. All right, furiously typing there. Okay, stand by. I'm going to disappear. I'll reappear. There we go. Okay. Hello, Shannon. Hello. First comment, Shannon. You get a gold star. Derek from Bitely or Bitly? Bitely. Derek, I still need to look up where that is. I think you were on here the other night. Where is the rain at? I'm asking myself the same question. Hopefully we can provide some in the forecast. All right, so live look in Vicksburg. Things are quiet right now. Speaking of where's the rain, let's get a check of satellite and radar really quick, kind of set the stage for what we're talking about in the next kind of 12 to 28 hours or so. There's actually a couple severe thunderstorm warnings to our north tonight. So this is up towards, looks like Big Bear, Sleeping Bear Dunes area, like little north of Manistee, Frankfurt. Pretty significant Boeing line of storms up there. Traverse City now under the threat of some strong winds. So that would be Benzie County, and I'm trying to think of what the county is that Traverse City is in. I can probably tell you really quick, but you can see there's some stronger storms a little farther north. See if I can get some information on that, but nothing in our vicinity. I want to make that clear. Right now, I'm just on a little tangent. Here, 1 second. Let me switch over to our velocity and radar, just in case you know anybody up there. Not a tornado threat, but it does look like a pretty strong wind threat with that line of storms. There we go. Okay, so for Grand Traverse, Kalkaska, that's not Benzie County. What the heck? That's not Benzie County. Huh. I got to know my up north counties better, clearly. Yeah, if you know anyone in that area, it looks like until 9:30. So that warning is set to expire. Let's see. I'm pretty familiar with this area, obviously, but clearly not the counties. Yeah, man, that looks like some pretty strong winds went right through there. Trying to kind of find Sleeping Bear Dunes. So that's Sleeping Bear, right? I think that point right there. No, that's Ludington State Park. So yeah, Sleeping Bear Dunes is up here. Anyways, so yeah, strong winds. That's pushing right into Traverse City. Looks like up to 60 miles an hour with that. All right, so just kind of a interesting little sidebar for our purposes tonight. I'm going to switch this over, though, to our satellite and radar. We're going to kind of get a look at what's happening. So there's a pretty large ridge of heat that is starting to build across our south. We're going to do a little coloring on here on the map tonight. So the area of high pressure is kind of centralized, or it's right now starting to become centralized right about here. That was a little bigger than I intended. But this is a pretty large area of high pressure. And just by kind of getting a quick glance at the way things are moving, so this is the last 6 hours, and you can kind of just, by storm motion, you can kind of extrapolate a few things. So I'm going to draw on some arrows and what's going on. So the jet stream is well to our north right now. And, high pressure flow, or the wind, is clockwise around an area of high pressure. So what's kind of cool is you can definitely see there's this large dominant high, because as you can generally tell, storms a bit farther north of that high are moving generally west to east, or at least that is the primary motion. Whereas farther south, you have flow coming in off of the Atlantic, kind of cruising across the Gulf, and then you have storms firing to the south. But generally speaking, over the center of that high, not a ton of activity. Now, this is a pattern, sometimes referred to as like a heat dome or just a ridge. But in the summertime, they get hot. So sometimes they're referred to as a heat dome. Okay, so it's a big area of sinking pressure. Sinking motion in the atmosphere compression warms things. So it's just kind of like a snowball effect, but not the cold kind. So it's a snowball effect in the sense that you have kind of a positive feedback on the fact that that high is just kind of sitting there, suppressing generally clouds and thunderstorms, and then also you get that sinking motion effect. So here's the thing about a heat dome and why there's a few things about these. On the northern periphery of them, so here, let me switch over to this, if I can find it. So in the northern part of a heat dome, we get these little just waves of energy. The jet stream for us right now is very weak. We're right here. The jet stream is a little bit more impressive farther north. Generally speaking, your weather systems are going to ride that jet stream, just in general. But this is an area that just sees these little weak waves of energy, and we sometimes call those ridge riders, or these clusters of thunderstorms that have formed tonight across northern Michigan, across here. Also, stand by. We want the graphic bigger. No, I didn't want that. There we go. That's what I was going for. Third time's the charm. So you can kind of see the storms in like the Dakotas / Nebraska, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. They've been getting a lot of rounds of storms in recent weeks because we've had kind of a somewhat similar pattern. Some of our stormy days in recent memory, last weekend, kind of similar to this setup. Basically, you get these storm complexes that fire across the plains, northern plains. They ride that jet. And then we oftentimes here in Michigan see kind of like what's left of those. So here, I'll erase everything and we can kind of talk through this what I'm talking about. But you can even kind of see that storm system there, kind of fired, 7-8 hours ago, had some lines bowing through portions of, whoa, that freaked me out. I thought there was a tornado warning, but it was just the colors on the map there for a second. I was like, whoa. But this is a pretty impressive line that is going through farther north. We'll have to see if they extend the warnings. It looks like they did. So at least for a couple counties, just that's up towards Paradise, but the lower peninsula Paradise, there's an upper peninsula Paradise as well, up towards Kalkaska. So this is just immediately south of the Leelanau Peninsula / Traverse City. There's a new warning out, it looks like through 10 o'clock. Looks kind of intriguing, this line. Nothing too noteworthy as far as a tornado threat right now. But if you have anyone up there, maybe just give them a heads up. Or if you have property up there, one, I'm jealous. Two, just keep an eye out. This is definitely strong enough, those brighter greens, to blow some stuff around, maybe do some low end damage as well. So we'll have to kind of keep tabs on that tonight. But again, for us, no immediate threat of severe weather. I want to make that very clear. But what we will touch on now is the chance for tomorrow's round of stronger storms. So that complex to our north is not expected to drop south. It's pretty much going to track east-southeast, but not far enough south where we're going to see any of its impact. In fact, you can kind of see it here. In fact, I think it should, in theory, continue to weaken somewhat into the early overnight. For us, let's zoom in a little closer. We start off the day, I think, dry tomorrow. Temperatures are going to be very muggy, middle to upper 70s. As we go throughout the day, though, why is this not loading? Hold on. Let's see. Okay, something's sketchy. 1 second. I got to fix something really quick. Something's being wonky with my computer graphic. So we got to adjust this on the fly a little. So let me change this, and I'll get through some of your comments really quickly. So this is the latest data, and let me adjust this to current. So yeah, sorry guys, I'm adjusting this on the fly a little bit. All right, we're gonna stop jumping around. So this is right now, it picks up pretty well on that complex that's going through farther north. Notice how it continues to, for the most part, push east and fizzle out into the overnight. And it's starting to lose, some of that energy. These are something called MCSs, mesoscale convective complexes, basically big clusters of thunderstorms, very typical of the summertime. They can happen year round, but very typical of the summertime on these hot, humid days. And again, key is the outer edge of that heat dome, as I was talking about earlier. So as we go hour by hour here throughout the day tomorrow, notice the timestamp top left, Thursday 2 now, maybe a few passing clouds. By around 3-4, though, we are going to have a front starting to push in, and that's going to help trigger some thunderstorms, that and a little weak blip in the jet stream, like a little weak wave, that is going to help trigger some thunderstorms. So as we play this forward, you're going to see perhaps a line or a cluster of storms. This latest run of hour by hour indicating maybe between like 4 and 7 p.m. would be the key time frame. Although, as you will see, there could even be some additional rounds later into the evening. Then a front will slowly push a little farther south. I'm not liking this solution at all. What I mean by that is these models get refreshed several times a day. And what's crazy is that sometimes like the weather model run, if you will, like the last time this was refreshed about 4 hours ago, it did not show all that rain on Friday. There is still a chance we see some showers and storms into Friday morning, but I am less and less convinced that we will see much. Most of our models have now shown that the front is going to sag a little farther south on Friday, which would push most of the rain and storms well south of our area during the daytime. It will then lift farther north Friday into Saturday, and then that brings another round of storms possibly for the first half of the weekend. Severe weather outlook for tomorrow. This could change, and this will get updated early tomorrow morning, so Jeff will have the latest on this. Just use this as a general guide. Had some questions about this last weekend. Not everyone in this area of green will necessarily see storms. I want to make that very clear. Everyone is on edge a little bit with rain. It's a sensitive subject right now because we all, at least most of us, could use some rain. Now, there are, believe it or not, areas. Some of you are going to be like, what? But some areas of West Michigan could actually use a break from the rain. Parts of like Berry County, for example, have gotten a lot of rain within the last few days where we've had storms. Last Saturday, though, I know very frustrating. The Saturday before that, very frustrating for a lot of you. I believe me, I heard it. Last Saturday, there were storms. We were forecasting about a 60% chance of storms. I would say the coverage in Kalamazoo County was very limited. Van Buren County, Allegan County was very limited. Meanwhile, there was a lot of rain and storms like Ottawa County, Muskegon County, Kent County, and northward. And then there was also some rain, not a lot, a little farther south as well. There was some confusion because we were calling for the potential for severe weather. We didn't really see anything severe on Saturday. And it is always a potential, right? This is still a very low chance that we see severe weather tomorrow. What this means is that there's generally like there's a chance we see 1 or 2 severe thunderstorms. If we do tomorrow, it's going to be damaging wind threat, primarily that and heavy rain. Heavy rain is definitely something we have to kind of keep in mind just because of how much moisture is in the atmosphere for tomorrow. But generally speaking, this is an afternoon, evening. As we were looking at that one model, it was showing maybe between 4 and 7. But as a general guideline, I would say like 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Just stay weather aware. That does not mean it's going to storm that entire time. In fact, these storms do look like they're going to blow through somewhere in that time frame, but not everyone is necessarily going to see the rain. And just to kind of prove that point, hopefully, if this works, because earlier this was being a little wonky with me. So let's see. I'm trying a different graphic really quick. Yeah, see, that's not going to work either. That's frustrating. There's a data error with this graphic right now that I can't quite work through. Let's see if I can fix this really quickly. So bear with me. Ignore the blank graphic. This is like weather graphics, raw and uncut. You guys are seeing behind the scenes as it's coming. All right. So I kind of like what it's doing there. most models, and what I'm most confident in, it seems like the timing of this front is going to be mostly kind of, I would say, from, say, Allegan County up towards Ionia by around the time those storms are going to be firing. So I think most of the storms will happen, let me refresh this, kind of east and southeast of that line. So again, the front will be pushing through somewhat during peak heating, and that's why we have a limited risk of some stronger storms. But what I'm trying to say, y'all, is that basically I think some of the strongest storm potential tomorrow and just the best chance of rain is mainly east and southeast of that line as storms start to rev up. And you can even see that indicated there. Like Grand Rapids might not see much tomorrow. Holland might not see much. Holland's one of those spots that I think could definitely use the rain, as well as parts of Allegan County. These areas of blue, as much as 3/4 of an inch to an inch are possible, if you find yourself one of the lucky locations underneath one of those downpours. But I guess luck is a little bit in the eye of the beholder. If you're driving in it, not fun. But if you're at home chilling, then it's good because we do need the rain. But again, a limited risk, low end risk. This is like a just a very small chance that we see one or two areas see some gusty winds. So just something to keep in mind. After tomorrow, which by the way, tomorrow too, before the storms, it's going to be super hot. So 95, the air temp, it will feel as hot as 103. There's a heat advisory in effect for tomorrow. And then temps come down a little bit, but it's still very humid through the weekend. And then we're right back up to 90 for Sunday and Monday. Monday especially. Some of the dew points that the models are spitting out are like crazy. They're like mid 70s. In fact, parts of like Iowa, Illinois could be in the middle 80s for a dew point, which is absurd. Lower to mid 80s. That's like as high as I think ever seen dew points. And that can happen, 80 plus degree dew points, but it's pretty rare. And part of that, you might have seen some headlines about corn sweat, and Colin is putting out a video about that. It is a thing. So like in cornfields, corn through evapotranspiration release some moisture just in their food making process. And it is a thing. So if you're in a cornfield, like on a hot, humid day, it's actually more humid there than it is pretty much anywhere else. Because again, the plants are like releasing some moisture. So you can actually see sometimes really, really crazy dew points, specifically in places where there's a lot of corn, i.e. Iowa, portions of Illinois here. But they get a little worse off to our west. The weekend also has a decent chance of storms on Saturday. The exact timing, the exact evolution of those storms is still too early to tell. But what I can say is that Sunday looks a little bit more promising as far as just a better day overall. But you see Sunday is going to be hot yet again, so 90 the high. Part of the reason, I'll just be like fully transparent. So I will say these sort of setups, I was talking about that Ridge Rider setup, right? So we were talking about this guy, area of high pressure, generally in this region. Okay, cool. So if I was going to like draw on this heat dome, it's kind of like here. We're right on the edge. Some of the hottest air was starting to creep its way in towards the end of the day today. Again, we were talking about the jet stream a little earlier. It sets up kind of over here. It's north of us now. But on the outer edge of that heat dome, you get these storm complexes that we were talking about earlier, those MCSs. There's kind of one right there. There's kind of one right here tonight, okay? And this is, like I said, a very typical setup for us in July. The reason why these are like the bane of my existence, though, I'll be fully honest, and Keith and I were just talking about this last week, is like, God, we hate these setups. Because these MCSs are generally speaking a mesoscale. They are literally, that's in the name, mesoscale convective system. You're like, what the heck does that mean? Or a mesoscale convective complex. Mesoscale in the world of meteorology, and meso, I think, in other fields as well, means really small scale. So a storm, a line of storms, that's mesoscale. Then you have synoptic scale, which would be generally kind of what I'm talking about now, like the overall pattern of this entire region or a mid-latitude cyclone that encompasses an entire region, that's like synoptic scale. Then you have mesoscale, okay? Weather models, there are some that can handle mesoscale meteorology, but they are, generally speaking, can predict like the next 36 to 48 hours-ish. Mesoscale meteorology, though, is also not easy to predict. Basically, what I'm trying to say is weather models, they can handle a very large mid-latitude cyclone. If you have a lot of dynamics involved, weather models are not perfect by any means, believe me, but they'll be able to handle that a little bit better generally 3-4 days out than they can what I'm talking about, which are these MCSs or MC mesoscale convective MCSs or why am I blanking? Anyways, there's all these different acronyms, but these clusters of thunderstorms that I was just talking about. So the reason why I say that is because sometimes these things, weather models will spit out something and it won't always be totally accurate. That is kind of what happened last weekend, to an extent. Last weekend was actually better than 2 weekends ago. I'll admit that. 2 weekends ago, it was looking like a line of storms goes through our area. We all woke up and basically that boundary was farther east than it had been originally indicated. And so the storms all fired 2 weekends ago, but it was all on the east side of the state. So what I'm trying to say is these are just really finicky and they can kind of change on a dime as far as how it affects the forecast. And they're not fun to forecast for that reason. But that's what I was getting at with Saturday is like, it's hard to say exactly how it's going to evolve because we're going to have more rounds of these in the next couple of days. And it can really throw those models for a loop. For example, like this out here, how that's going to evolve into tomorrow. This generally all should rain out into the overnight. But then what's left of this kind of disturbance will eventually help trigger our storms tomorrow. So you have outflow boundaries, you have what's left of the storms, kind of all impacting the forecast. So definitely tricky and kind of like you got to just keep watching it and stay tuned the next couple of days. But what I can say is I do think we'll have some storms in our area tomorrow afternoon and evening. And then it looks like we'll have more on Saturday and then again on Sunday perhaps. But hopefully we'll get some decent rain out of it, at least for the areas that need it. And hopefully the people that don't need it, y'all share the love a little bit. But hopefully that made at least some sense. If it didn't, I'm sorry for my ramblings. Overnight tonight will fall to about 75, partly cloudy, quite muggy. Tomorrow, hotter and humid. I went with 95. It'll feel as hot as 103 degrees during the afternoon. So make sure you're taking breaks. We do have a heat advisory tomorrow. It'll cool off a little bit Friday, Saturday, but still be very muggy. I often say, one indication of humidity is honestly your overnight lows. When we're only falling into low to mid 70s, it's going to be humid because humidity, the air can't cool as efficiently. There's more moisture in the air. And think about it. So more moisture, there's more water in the air. And the more water in the air, water is a lot slower to warm or cool than just like dry air by itself, right? And so that's why if it's more humid, the overnight temperatures aren't generally going to fall as much. So oftentimes when we see these sort of overnight lows, it's going to be pretty humid stretch. I think we might see the heat break a little bit mid to late next week towards the end of the month. But yeah, the next several days are looking very, very steamy. All right. Let's read through this. Sorry, I haven't read through any of your comments. My microphone is right in the way, and so it's a little hard. Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate that comment. And good evening, Jesse in the Berg. Hello, Jeanette. Miss Jeanette, I should say, since you call me Mr. Will. I had a late neighbor who she was a very sweet woman was friends with my mom. She passed away a year ago, and she would always call me Mr. Will. So that makes me think of her, Jeanette. Wilson, what's up, Craig? Enough with this heat. I know, Craig. It's been kind of a hot July. We had a pretty nice June, and then all of a sudden late June was like, nope. Joke's on you, Michigan. We're going to crank it up. Good evening, Debbie. Good evening, Ken. What's up, Ken? What's up, Carla? Thank you for everybody. What's up, Lily? Lily in the house. Sheena's Joe. Is that Sheena and Joe? I would imagine. Where is my Keith? He knows his counties. He does. Even up north, he knows them better than me. I know my West Michigan counties like the back of my hand, but I'm still getting there on my all of Michigan counties, if you'll cut me some slack. Although I have been up there plenty of times, I should know. I don't even know I'm going to look really dumb. Benzie County is up north. It's like a county. Wait, I'm so confused. That is Benzie County. Why did my graphics say it wasn't? That's what confused me. I'm still going to figure that out later. Anyways, yeah, we could, you guys, really quickly. I'll just check in on that again, and then I got to go. Holy moly, I talked for too long. It's a problem. All right, let's see. Why is there a little pop-up? There we go. And, yeah, we got our account back. We got it back. Pug lovers in the house. Yeah, we've been having some reboot issues with our streaming computer. So yeah, there's still that severe thunderstorm farther north, just blew through Traverse City. I'll have to check the consumers outage map and see if there's anything up there. I think they're on consumers, but I'm not positive. Let's see. Just in case you have, there's a few outages farther south, interestingly enough, but man, yeah, so pretty impressive storm through Kalkaska County, Missaukee County, and Wexford County. I said that right? See, I need to learn. Missaukee. I've been up to this area, not so much that area. I've been to, obviously, Traverse City. Obviously, if you haven't been to Traverse City, what are you doing? Then you got to go to Crystal Lake. Been there. Went there as a kid. Love Crystal Lake. Anyways, so yeah, hopefully those folks up north are heeding the warnings. But looks like this line does extend almost all the way down to Silver Lake. Man, yeah, pretty impressive. But it's, again, not going to be a major player for us here in West Michigan. That southern edge could clip like northern Oceana, northern Newaygo County, maybe northern Mecosta County. But it looks like, generally speaking, I think it should continue to push due east. Kind of missing our area mostly. Might jog a little farther that way, but we'll see. Looks like they just issued a new warning for all of our friends watching from up north, which is probably not a lot, but maybe, hey, you never know. You never know how the algorithm works. Someone watching in Kalkaska right now hops on, sees my mug talking about how I don't know how to say their county. But again, this is up north, new warning through 10 p.m. They just shaved it off a little bit. So it's out of the Traverse City area. Still some lightning on the back end. Still on the Sutton's Bay. There's still some cloud to ground lightning. So just north of Cadillac, there's a severe thunderstorm warning. But again, nothing here. And we're not expecting anything severe tonight. I think we may see some isolated stronger storms tomorrow. But yeah, it does look like there's a few outages farther north. And I'm not sure if these are all storm related. Some of these, yeah, some of these could have even been like heat related. I'm not sure, but definitely there's only a couple. There's only 48 outages, but only less than 4,000 affected. So that's pretty small in the world of weather-related outages. Usually, if it's a significant high-end event, you'll see the number in the tens of thousands very quickly. So, all right. Bye, everybody. Again, quiet for us tonight. It's going to be hot tomorrow. Start hydrating tonight before bed. Believe it or not, that is a thing. You want to hydrate. You don't want to be playing catch up with hydration. You want to hydrate ahead of the heat as well and during. But start hydrating tonight. Drink an extra little glass of water. And then you'll thank me at 3 a.m. when you wake up, if you know what I'm saying. All right. Bye, everybody. I got to run to do a mic check, and I'll talk to you later. All right. Bye, guys. Bye. Sorry I didn't read all the comments. Hidden behind the microphone. Okay. Bye. I'll see you on TV.